ThousandEyes WAN Insights provides predictive analytics and forecasting to give you actionable recommendations that help improve the performance of your SD-WAN environment. WAN Insights can collect historical network performance data and forecast the path quality for user applications within SD-WAN networks. Based on these forecasts, it can recommend a path with a high probability of providing a better user experience. You can then apply these recommendations in vManage before the issue happens. WAN Insights allows you to easily track the performance of your current network setup and tune your policies and paths to achieve the best user experience. Let's take a look at it in action. Once activated, WAN Insights will appear along the left navigation bar within the ThousandEyes interface. You can see here there's two different sections which we'll explore today. The first is Recommendations. Recommendations is a list of all the different applications that you're currently monitoring, as well as the different sites. It will then show you any performance recommendations based on what the current analytics are seeing and what you might do if you made a change, how much improvement you would see there. You'll see I have different applications such as Office 365, Google, and I have a voice category as well. So you can break it out by service provider, so Office for example, or you can group them together. So if you have multiple voice services from different providers, you can categorize them all under one to show recommendations that would apply to any of those applications. Conversely, if you have a critical application you care about, such as SharePoint or Outlook, you can also just break that out into its own category to view just the recommendations and current performance data for that. Now let's take a look at one of the applications. Under the voice category, one of the tiles is showing me that I could see an almost 11% increase if I switched from using my current network setup, which is the business internet plus bronze, to just using the business internet connection. You can see it gives me site details along with how many users are at that site. If we click on the tile, it'll give us more information about that recommendation. What you're seeing now is a detailed view of that recommendation. If we look along the top, it tells us the site information along with number of users, the current setup, so which networks it's using, and then which ones we recommend you switch to, as well as the projected improvement, so again, that 10.79%. There's a timeline below, and WAN Insights uses a 7-day sliding window to gather the data, and you'll see here now the different lines. We're actually showing you what the current stats are, as well as the projected. So if I hover over those lines, it'll actually show me what the recommended path quality is, and then what the default is. And I can scroll over time to actually see how that would look and how that changes over the window where we're collecting data from. The circle in the middle is showing us all the different users we have at this site and what the projected quality improvement would be. So it's a good way of visualizing all the different users and what kind of performance gains you would get. Let's select an endpoint pair now by clicking on this host. And now it's going to refresh with the data for this specific host and endpoint pairing. You'll notice a similar graph now that's going to chart out the exact performance over that window. If I hover over it, it's going to show that, again, recommended quality and the default quality. And if I scroll over time, that updates to show the different statistics. On the right, we have a circuit composition. So this is showing me the current network setup and then what it would look like if I made that change that the recommendation is showing us, what circuits would be involved and what path that traffic would take. Scrolling down, we get a detailed breakdown of the different metrics that we're collecting. So things like loss, latency, and jitter. And I can scroll over those and it'll show the different percentages for that time period. So this is a real useful view to be able to take all the information about a site and that specific application and view the recommendation for it to view the performance gains that we would get by switching that network setup. Now let's take a look at site details. This section will list all the different sites we're monitoring along with the applications associated with them. You can filter by specific sites or by specific applications. So if you only want to view your Office 365 apps, you can do that. We have some built-in applications that come with WAN Insights, but users can also add in custom applications that you'd like to monitor with that data coming in from vAnalytics. If you click on a site, so for instance, this site using Office 365, we'll then get a more detailed view showing you the performance metrics as well as that same circle and host pairing. So you'll be able to understand where the different endpoint pairs are, so endpoint to application, and where you might see an improvement. We can filter on an endpoint pair just like before, and that will bring up those detailed stats. So it'll show you what paths they're currently using, as well as any metrics that we've collected. And you can view that recommendation as well. So if there was a recommendation in there on how to improve performance, you could click View Recommendation, and it would then show you the recommendation for that path, which path would be better. You can see this would have been an almost 2% improvement. And then you can view, again, if you scroll down, the comparison of current path, and if you change to a new path, what those stats would look like. So WAN Insights is really powerful. It collects a lot of data, and it gives you a really easy way to visualize that. It can help teams reduce trouble tickets. It can help with policy validation to make sure what your policies are currently, and if you're actually getting the SLA or performance that you're expecting, as well as recommendations. So how can we proactively make performance better before a user actually sees a performance impact?